Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and in this unranked list, we're examining some of the most disturbing, unsolved disappearances in the UK.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Agatha Christie. This is the only disappearance we'll be talking about where the person did eventually turn back up. A century ago, in 1926, Queen of Mystery Agatha Christie, who remains the best-selling novelist in history, vanished after her philandering husband Archie asked for a divorce. That December, Christie disappeared from her home in Surrey, with her abandoned car being found the next day. The papers ran wild with speculation, with a great many people believing that a tragedy had befallen Christie. But despite tabloids offering cash rewards, nobody could produce a credible sighting. She remained elusive for an incredible 10 days, until turning up at a hotel in Harrogate, North Yorkshire, under a fake name and identity. Whatever happened to Christie, she recovered, writing dozens more novels and short stories, though we still don't know why she disappeared, or what she was doing. Christie herself never revealed the truth. The Princes in the Tower. In 1483, King Edward V and Prince Richard, his brother, were seen alive for the last confirmed time. That summer, the prince's father, Edward IV, was infamously deposed by Richard III, who put the boys in the Tower of London, where they vanished. Theories have abounded for centuries, with most suggesting that Richard III likely ordered them killed because, alive, they threatened his claim to the throne. Other assassination plots have been suggested too, and in the years immediately following the disappearance, there were numerous pretenders claiming to be the missing princes. Modern research has suggested that the princes didn't die at all, but went on to live out their lives in secrecy, though this remains contested. The grisliest discovery of all came when workmen in the late 17th century found two skeletons buried underneath a staircase in the Tower of London, with many believing that they were the remains of the princes. Franklin's Lost Expedition. In 1845, famed explorer Sir John Franklin set sail from Britain's shores for the last time. Leading the polar exploration ships HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, which had already made history exploring Antarctica, Franklin wanted to chart the Northwest Passage, a sea route through the Arctic between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But both ships disappeared. There were years of searches and investigations, and eventually the Arctic's indigenous groups were able to shed light on what had happened. Both ships ended up trapped in ice, where the crews slowly ran out of food and turned against each other, with evidence of cannibalism. But to this day, almost none of the bodies have ever been found. The shipwrecks weren't even found until the 2010s. Only a handful of remains have been conclusively identified, with research still ongoing. Bible John. In the late 1960s, Glasgow was terrorised by a dangerous, uncaught serial killer dubbed Bible John. He killed 3 women between 1968 and 1969, Patricia Docker, Jemima MacDonald and Helen Puttock, over an 18-month period. All 3 were killed in the same way, but because of the long gap between the first 2 killings, police didn't know they were looking for a serial killer at first. Despite a detailed description from Puttock's sister, Jean Langford, and police knowing that Bible John found all of his victims at Glasgow's Barrowland Ballroom, the investigation failed. He got his nickname from Langford too, who said that during a cab ride home, he extensively discussed the Bible and adultery. Despite police taking 50,000 witness statements and questioning 5,000 suspects, he was never found. Richey Edwards, the main lyricist of Manic Street Preachers. It seems unfathomable that Richey Edwards could have simply disappeared without a trace, but in 1995, that's what happened. After withdrawing nearly £3,000 from his bank account, Edwards vanished on the eve of a big American tour, leaving everything behind. He even left behind his passport after abandoning his car near the Severn Bridge. It is widely believed that he took his own life, though the investigation has always been inconclusive, with many of the officers working the case at the time looking back and wishing they'd done a better job. In 2008, Edwards was declared legally dead by his family. There have been a handful of alleged sightings of him around the world, including in the Canary Islands, and the remaining Manic Street Preachers themselves are still holding out hope. Mary Flanagan. In 1959, 16-year-old Mary Flanagan disappeared without a trace from Newham on the way to a New Year's Eve party. At the time, it was widely believed that she'd eloped with a man named Tom, but he's never been found either. Remarkably, almost 70 years later, the case hasn't been closed. It remains open with the Metropolitan Police, and they still conduct inquiries, even searching for Mary now on Facebook. If she disappeared intentionally, she's never contacted anyone to let them know, including her two sisters, who have both, sadly, now died. There's also the unsettling possibility of foul play, and that she didn't elope at all, but came to some real harm. The sad truth is that we just don't know, and at this point, it seems unlikely that we ever will. The Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers. This lonely lighthouse in the Outer Hebrides became the site of one of the most baffling mysteries in British history when in 1900 all three of its keepers disappeared. It was eventually investigated after the fourth relief keeper arrived to take over, and he realised that his colleagues had all vanished. The clocks had all stopped, meaning they hadn't been wound in some time, and their waterproof equipment had been left behind. An official investigation was launched, but it was unable to determine what had happened. Theories abound to this day, many of them supernatural in nature, though most logical theories suggest they were washed away by an enormous rogue wave during a storm. There are unique conditions on the island's rocks that make this plausible, not to mention the serious storm damage left at one of the landings. Suzy Lamplugh. In the summer of 1986, 25-year-old Suzy Lamplugh vanished in broad daylight in Fulham. The estate agent was meant to be meeting a client to show a property dubbed Mr. Keeper in her own diary. Unlike the other disappearances in this video, this one offers at least a little closure. A man named John Cannan, a murderer and sex offender who died in 2024, was widely believed by the police to have been responsible. Cannan even said he knew who Lamplugh's killer was and blamed this same mysterious man for the murder of Shirley Banks the following year, which he was convicted of. Police never had enough evidence to charge him, despite Lamplugh's DNA being found in a car he owned, but he was already in prison for Banks' murder. Lamplugh's body has never been discovered, but Cannan died in prison, having been refused parole. Lord Lucan. Wealthy aristocrat John Bingham, the 7th Earl of Lucan, vanished in 1974 after somebody murdered his children's nanny, Sandra Rivet. That somebody has always been believed to have been Lucan himself, thanks in no small part to the way he managed to completely vanish. Lucan's estranged wife, Lady Lucan, went downstairs late one night to investigate why Rivet was taking such a long time making a cup of tea. Upon doing so, she was violently attacked, though managed to escape by climbing out of the bathroom window. Police arrived and found Rivet's body, with Lady Lucan saying that the attacker was her husband. His abandoned car was found, but no body, and despite a massive international operation, Lucan, if he was still alive, vanished. He was declared dead in 1999. Madeleine McCann. Almost 20 years on, and the disappearance of Madeleine McCann remains the news story of the century. The 3-year-old went missing from the Portuguese hotel her family was staying in sometime around 10 o'clock on the evening of the 3rd of May 2007, leading to an enormous investigation. Controversy arose when the Portuguese police briefly suspected the McCanns themselves of covering up her death, making them persons of interest for nearly a year. Police inquiries continue, including internationally, and German police have formally named a suspect. It's taken years to attempt to bring charges against him though, and as of 2026, he's not been arrested. Kate and Jerry McCann hold out hope that Maddie might be alive somewhere, and there are regular appeals for more information. Let us know what videos you want us to do next.